What if your body wasn't just a collection of muscles, bones, and organs, but an ancient temple built with the precision of the wisest alchemists and brought to life by the very energy of the cosmos? Has this ever happened to you? That subtle moment when you feel your inner fire flickering, as if the altar within you is running low on flame? Imagine if you could reignite that sacred fire, not with synthetic formulas or quick-fix pills, but with the purest, most powerful gifts nature has to offer. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Your body, your temple is alive, sensitive, and deeply attuned to what you feed it. Every bite, every sip, every breath can either dim or brighten the light that burns at your core. In ancient times, this truth wasn't just known, it was revered. The elders, the healers, the mystics, they understood that what we now call energy was once spoken of as a sacred flame, a life force that could be nourished, guided, and even expanded. And they knew the secret. The earth itself offers living, breathing catalysts, natural elements that can awaken vitality, restore balance, and stir the depths of human passion. This isn't about stimulating the body in a shallow or temporary way. It's about aligning with your life force, that subtle current that flows through every cell, every thought, every heartbeat. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. We're going to explore how the right elements, taken with awareness, can not only restore energy, but also reconnect you to a forgotten truth. Desire isn't just physical, it's sacred. Picture for a moment the difference between a temple lit by dim, artificial lamps and one bathed in the golden light of the sun. That's the difference between relying on synthetic stimulants and embracing nature's authentic gifts. The ancients didn't see the body as a machine to be fixed when broken. They saw it as a sanctuary to be honored, a living map of energies that could be activated and balanced. And those who knew how to tend to this sacred structure, they didn't just live, they radiated. From the high plateaus of the Andes to the hidden chambers of Eastern temples, there have always been those who guard the knowledge of these sacred catalysts. They knew that certain roots, nectars, and essences carried the memory of the sun, the strength of the mountains, and the flow of pure, unbroken life energy. These weren't mere foods. They were keys capable of unlocking creative power, deep attraction, and a magnetic vitality that others could feel without you saying a word. Perhaps you felt it before, that spark that makes you stand taller, speak with more presence, and move with a quiet confidence that draws people in. That's not just confidence. It's life force made visible. And the truth is, it can be cultivated, not by rushing, not by forcing, but by feeding the temple, your body, with the living essences that the earth has been perfecting for millennia. So as we step into this journey, I invite you to approach it with reverence. What you're about to hear isn't a shopping list of exotic ingredients. It's an initiation into an older, wiser way of nourishing yourself. A way that sees food not only as sustenance, but as a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. And as we begin to uncover these natural treasures, you'll see how each one is more than nourishment. It's a spark, a whisper, a piece of the ancient fire that waits to be rekindled within you. Stay with me, because in just a moment, we're going to step into the heart of this mystery. And once you see it, you'll never look at your own body or the gifts of the earth in the same way again. If these ideas spark something in you, subscribe so we can keep exploring them together. When we speak of awakening desire, most people think of fleeting sensations, of something that burns brightly for a moment and then fades away. But true natural aphrodisiacs do not work in that shallow, temporary way. They reach much deeper into the very core of your being, where your life force resides. It's there in that hidden place that the real transformation begins. This is not about chasing an instant thrill, but about unlocking a deeper relationship with your body and energy, a connection so profound that it begins to influence your thoughts, your decisions, and even the way you move through the world. For centuries, wise cultures across continents understood something that modern society has nearly forgotten. Vitality is not measured solely in physical power, but in how the body and soul move together in harmony. Real strength, the kind that radiates beyond the surface, emerges when your entire being resonates with the elements of nature. That is why certain foods were never treated as simple nourishment, but as sacred tools, elixirs, capable of restoring not only the body, but also the invisible currents of energy that flow through it. Among these rare treasures, 3 have been consistently revered as living sources of strength, connection, and pleasure. They were guarded like secrets, not because they were dangerous, but because they were too powerful to be wasted without understanding their true purpose. These are not stimulants that force your body into action. Instead, they are like keys that fit into the hidden locks of your inner temple, unlocking doorways to creativity, presence, and spiritual vitality. When integrated with awareness, they awaken the fire within, a fire that burns steady and bright, fueling not just desire, but a deeper sense of purpose. It's fascinating how modern life often chases energy in all the wrong places. Caffeine jolts, quick fix supplements, synthetic enhancers, while the real source has been here all along, growing in the soil, flowing in the nectar, shaped by the sun, wind, and earth. The ancients understood that these natural gifts carried not only nutrients, but also stories, memories of the mountains they grew on, the forests they were rooted in, and the cycles of seasons they had survived. To consume them was to take in that resilience, that history, that quiet but undeniable force of nature. This is why they were often part of rituals, moments where intention and awareness amplified their impact. Consuming them wasn't just eating, it was participating in an exchange with the earth itself, a silent agreement to honor the life you've been given by nurturing it with what is pure and alive. Over time, the effects weren't just physical. They showed up in the way someone entered a room, in the clarity of their gaze, in the magnetism that seemed to draw others without a word being spoken. That magnetism has nothing to do with conventional beauty or charm. It's the impact of energy that is fully awake, flowing through the body without resistance. It's the quiet confidence of someone who is deeply connected to their own center, someone whose inner fire is steady because it is fueled by more than momentary excitement. It is sustained by alignment with something older and wiser than themselves. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding the physical and energetic nature of these elements can change the way you see not just food, but your own vitality. When you realize that the same forces that shape mountains and rivers can also shape the current of life within you, something shifts. You begin to see nourishment not as a necessity, but as a daily opportunity to build the kind of energy that lasts. Write in the comments, I'm also on this path. There's something almost poetic about the way certain foods emerge from the most extraordinary places on earth. High in the Andes, where the air is thin and the wind carries the whispers of centuries, a resilient root pushes through rocky soil, gathering the strength of the mountains into its fibers. In the hidden temples of the East, a root shaped like the human form has been cultivated with reverence, passed from master to disciple, as a treasure not meant for casual hands. And then there is the golden dust gathered by tireless creatures, each grain holding within it the condensed fire of the sun, collected from thousands of blossoms. These origins aren't just stories. They are part of the energy you take into yourself when you consume them. The places these foods come from matter. Environments shape them, just as environments shape us. Harsh conditions can create resilience. Sacred spaces can preserve purity. When you bring these elements into your body, you are inviting in not just their nutrients, but the very essence of the landscapes they were born from. This is where the hidden truth lies. What we eat is not only matter, but memory. It's a direct link to the forces of creation, a behind-the-scenes exchange between nature's intelligence and our own life force. Ancient cultures understood this connection intimately. They didn't eat just to survive. They ate to participate in a sacred dialogue. In their mindset, food was a message, a language spoken between the earth and the soul. Every bite was a line of poetry, every meal a ritual. They believed that to eat was to commune with the divine, to merge the physical with the spiritual in a single act. That's why the preparation of food was often accompanied by prayer, music, or offerings. It wasn't about flavor alone, but about aligning the vibration of the meal with the intention of the heart. This way of seeing food transforms everything. It changes the decisions you make about what to put into your body. You stop asking only, will this give me energy? And start asking, what story will this bring into my life? What will this awaken in me? When the answer comes from that deeper place, the impact is felt far beyond the stomach. It reverberates through your thoughts, your mood, your presence. It's as if the body recognizes when it has received something alive, something carrying the signature of the sun, the earth, the wind, and responds with gratitude in the form of vitality, clarity, and a quiet confidence. When we speak of desire in this context, it's no longer reduced to a fleeting physical impulse. It becomes a sacred force, a call from the deepest layers of our being to expand, to create, to connect. It's the same energy that fuels art, passion, innovation, and love. And when this energy is nourished properly, it doesn't burn out, it evolves. It becomes part of your aura, part of the invisible atmosphere you carry with you into every room. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding the vibrational nature of these foods can shift not just how you see nutrition, but how you approach the entire journey of self-care and self-mastery. The real revelation is that when you consume them with intention, you are not just feeding your body, you are feeding your spirit, tuning yourself to a frequency that attracts the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences into your life. Write in the comments, this makes sense to me. Throughout history, there has been an unbroken thread connecting the most advanced ancient civilizations. The belief that certain foods held the power to awaken not only the body, but the mind and spirit. In Egypt, deep within temple walls scented with resins and sacred oils, priests prepared mixtures of plants and roots, not simply for nourishment, but for the activation of inner vision, for sharpening the senses, and for aligning the body with the cosmic order they believed governed all life. In Vedic India, sages and yogis spoke of roots and flowers capable of stirring the sleeping energy at the base of the spine. The serpent-like current known as kundalini, which, when awakened, transformed perception itself. And across the Americas, long before modern science attempted to define nutrients, pre-Columbian shamans revered fruits and seeds as keys to the fire of life, a poetic way of describing the very impulse that drives creation and connection. To them, desire was never something to suppress or indulge without thought. It was a sacred calling. They understood that this energy, when channeled with awareness, could be the same force that drives a song into existence, inspires a painting, or gives birth to a vision that changes a community's destiny. This was not the shallow craving that today's world often confuses with passion. It was a refined and potent energy, a bridge between instinct and higher purpose. In their mindset, to feel desire was to receive a message from the soul itself, urging expansion, transformation, and the creation of something lasting. Join the journey, hit subscribe, and let's keep uncovering what really fuels our energy and purpose. The foods they chose to cultivate and guard were carefully aligned with this philosophy. They were not selected solely for taste or abundance, but for their ability to interact with the human energy field. They shaped not only the body's strength, but the clarity of thought, the sharpness of intuition, and the stability of emotion. In a way, they were both nourishment and instruction, teaching the body how to hold more light, how to sustain vitality without burning out, and how to keep desire steady without letting it consume. It's fascinating to consider how these cultures saw the act of eating as far more than the intake of calories or proteins. They saw it as an act of shaping destiny. Behind the scenes of their daily rituals, food was a form of training, preparing warriors, not just for battle, but for resilience in the face of challenge. Preparing lovers, not just for intimacy, but for the cultivation of lasting connection. Preparing leaders, not just for power, but for wisdom in decision-making. Every meal was an opportunity to strengthen not only the muscles, but the will, the focus, and the connection to the unseen forces guiding life. When you think of it in this way, the impact of food extends far beyond the body's immediate needs. It becomes a subtle architect of mood, a quiet influence on the way you respond to situations, the way you express yourself, the way you create and connect. The hidden truth is that we are constantly shaping our inner state through what we choose to consume. It's not just that food gives us energy. It molds the quality of that energy, influencing whether it becomes restless and scattered or focused and magnetic. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because the idea of aligning sexual energy, life force, and creativity isn't simply a poetic concept. It's a precise, practical approach to living with more awareness and more impact. When the foods you choose harmonize with your purpose, they become catalysts for transformation, and their effects ripple out into every area of life, from the way you think to the way you inspire others. Write in the comments. Energy is creation. In many ancient traditions, the most potent natural aphrodisiacs were never handed out casually. They weren't meant to be consumed without understanding, because their purpose extended far beyond the physical. These were tools for spiritual elevation, catalysts that could take the raw energy of desire and refine it into something magnetic, creative, and deeply transformative. This was energy that could be channeled into art, leadership, healing, and personal mastery. It was not about temporary excitement. It was about cultivating a force that could shape reality itself. That's why access to these substances was often guarded. In temples, only initiates those who had prepared themselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually were entrusted with their use. There was a recognition that the same fire that can warm and illuminate can also burn if mishandled. The elders knew that without the right mindset, the power these foods unleashed might scatter rather than focus, leading to impulsive decisions instead of inspired action. Behind the scenes, the training of an initiate involved learning not just what to consume, but how to direct the surge of energy that followed. Each of the 3 sacred foods we are exploring is a living heritage, carrying the essence of centuries of observation, experimentation, and reverence. They are more than plants or nectars. They are keys. Keys that unlock doorways not only to physical vitality, but also to states of clarity, presence, and higher connection. When used with intention, they act like tuning forks for the body and mind, helping you vibrate in harmony with the very frequencies that sustain life. It's fascinating to realize that what we now call health or well-being was once inseparable from spiritual alignment. To be truly vital was to be centered, grounded, and attuned to the rhythms of nature. These foods were seen as allies in that process, not just because they could strengthen the body, but because they could sharpen perception and open channels of creativity. Their impact was both immediate and cumulative, like a spark that not only lights the fire, but teaches you how to keep it burning steadily. Imagine the journey of someone in those ancient times, chosen to receive these elements for the first time. There would be ceremony, intention, and guidance, a reminder that what they were about to ingest wasn't simply food, but a sacred code. Consuming it was a decision, an agreement to step into a higher level of awareness and responsibility. The transformation it brought wasn't just about feeling more alive. It was about becoming more aligned with the purpose that life had already inscribed within them. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding the symbolism and energy behind these foods adds a layer of meaning that science alone can't explain. When you see them not only as nourishment, but as ancient keys that have traveled across time to reach you, the act of consuming them becomes part of a much greater journey, one that blends the wisdom of the past with the choices you make in the present, shaping the impact you leave on the world. Write in the comments, I choose to unlock my energy. High in the Peruvian Andes, where the air thins and the landscape is both breathtaking and unforgiving, there grows a root that has learned to survive against all odds. Maca, often called the whisper of the Andes, doesn't just adapt to these extreme conditions. It thrives in them, drawing strength from the rugged terrain, the sharp winds, and the pure, unfiltered sunlight. Every fiber of this plant holds the memory of resilience, and when it enters the human body, it shares that same enduring spirit. Consuming maca is like receiving a coded message from the mountains themselves. Stand strong, stay rooted, and let your inner fire burn steadily. The people who first cultivated and revered maca knew its power intimately. It was not a casual crop, it was a companion in both daily life and in moments of great need. Warriors would take it before entering battle, not only to fortify their physical strength, but to sharpen their mental clarity, to steady their focus, and to anchor their presence. It was understood that true victory, whether on the battlefield or in life, required more than brute force. It required an unwavering center, a mind unclouded by distraction, and a spirit aligned with purpose. What makes maca truly unique is how it engages the body's creative and generative center. In energetic terms, it stimulates the seat of our life force, the point from which new ideas, new connections, and new experiences are born. This is not limited to sexual vitality, though that is part of its legacy, but extends to the ability to conceive and bring forth anything of value, from projects to relationships to visions for the future. It awakens a part of you that is both primal and elevated, instinctual yet deeply conscious. Over time, those who integrate maca into their lives with intention often notice changes that go beyond measurable stamina or endurance. There is a subtle yet undeniable shift in the way they carry themselves. Self-esteem seems to rise naturally, not as a forced confidence, but as a grounded knowing of one's own worth. Presence deepens, the kind of presence that draws attention without demanding it. And with that, a magnetic quality emerges, one that is not about trying to attract, but about naturally resonating with others at a deeper frequency. This is where the hidden truth about maca reveals itself. Its power is not only in the nutrients it delivers, but in the way it influences your mindset and energy. When the body feels supported and balanced, the mind becomes clearer, decisions are made with greater confidence, and interactions flow with more ease. The impact reaches into the unseen, how you are perceived, how opportunities find you, and how you navigate challenges. Subscribe and stay connected to more conversations that inspire and transform from the inside out. Maca, in this way, becomes more than a root. It is a teacher, one that reminds you of your capacity to remain steady in turbulent times, to generate warmth even in the coldest conditions, and to hold space for both strength and gentleness within the same breath. It embodies the lesson that resilience is not about resisting change, but about adapting while staying anchored to your essence. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the way maca interacts with both the physical body and the energetic field reveals layers of meaning that connect ancient wisdom with modern understanding. It's in this interplay between tradition and science, between tangible results and intangible shifts, that we begin to see the full spectrum of what this Andean whisper can truly awaken. Write in the comments, I choose resilience. Deep in the traditions of the East, ginseng has long been regarded as far more than a medicinal root. It is a living symbol of vitality, balance, and the subtle mastery of life's energies. Among its many forms, Korean red ginseng holds a place of particular reverence. It's often called the plant of inner fire, not because it stirs recklessness or uncontrolled heat, but because it ignites a flame that is steady, enduring, and guided by wisdom. This is not the wildfire of impulse. It's the controlled, radiant warmth of a hearth that can sustain life through the longest winters. What makes ginseng extraordinary is its intelligence. Yes, intelligence. Through its unique compounds, known as ginsenosides, it seems to communicate with the body in a way that modern science is still working to fully understand. It reads your state, senses your needs, and responds accordingly. If the body is fatigued, it offers vitality. If the mind is overactive, it brings calm. It doesn't simply push energy in one direction. It harmonizes, like an inner alchemist blending the perfect proportions of elements to restore equilibrium. This adaptability is part of the hidden truth behind its centuries of reverence. It's not a stimulant, it's a balancer. Energetically, ginseng works like a bridge. It connects the root chakra, the grounding center that anchors you to stability and physical vitality. With the heart chakra, the seat of compassion, love, and emotional depth. When these two centers work in unison, something transformative happens. Desire no longer seeks only its own satisfaction. It becomes infused with empathy, purpose, and an enduring quality. Passion becomes more than a spark. It becomes a steady flame capable of warming and inspiring not just yourself, but those around you. In this way, ginseng doesn't only fuel ambition or drive, it refines it. It takes the raw, sometimes chaotic energy of human desire and channels it into forms that are sustainable and life-giving. This is why in ancient Taoist temples, ginseng was often reserved for those engaged in deep meditative or creative practices. The masters understood that when the fire within is kindled, it must have direction. Without focus, energy dissipates. With focus, it becomes the force behind transformation, creation, and long-lasting impact. Imagine for a moment the mindset shift this creates. Instead of chasing bursts of energy, followed by inevitable crashes, you cultivate a reservoir, an inner wellspring you can draw from whenever you need it. This is what makes ginseng's influence so profound. It changes your relationship with energy itself. It teaches patience without dullness, action without haste, power without aggression. It's a mentor in root form, guiding you toward a state where your decisions are no longer driven by urgency or lack, but by clarity and purpose. When you integrate ginseng into your life with awareness, you start to notice subtle but significant changes. Your focus sharpens, but without the tension that often comes with high concentration. Your body feels more prepared for whatever the day demands, and your emotional landscape becomes steadier, less easily swayed by external turbulence. It's as if a quiet strength begins to inhabit you, one that's felt in the way you speak, the way you listen, and even in the way you move. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the way ginseng operates on both the tangible and intangible levels reveals an intricate dance between biology and energy, one that holds clues for how we can sustain our inner fire, not just for moments, but for the entire journey of our lives. Write in the comments, "My fire is steady," when ginseng is approached as more than just a health supplement. Its role transforms entirely. Taken within a ritual context, it becomes a spiritual ally, one that doesn't merely work on the body, but subtly influences the way you inhabit time and space. It deepens your presence, sharpening the quiet awareness that allows you to feel grounded yet open, focused yet receptive. In this way, ginseng becomes part of an ongoing dialogue between your physical form and your inner world, aligning intention with action in a way that leaves a lasting imprint on your mindset and energy. And then there is the third gift, bee pollen, often described as condensed solar nectar. Just the thought of it carries a certain poetry. Thousands of blossoms kissed by the morning sun, each offering its golden dust to tireless bees, who, in their sacred geometry of flight, weave together the most intricate form of nourishment nature can provide. This is food born from a collaboration between the earth's most delicate flowers and one of its most disciplined and purposeful creatures. Every granule holds the memory of sunlight, wind, and life itself, concentrated into a form your body instantly recognizes. What makes bee pollen remarkable isn't only its composition of enzymes, amino acids, and minerals, it's the way it interacts with your energetic field. In ancient initiatory traditions, it was said that bee pollen carried a high vibration, one capable of cleansing the blood and elevating the aura. Modern science might explain its benefits in terms of detoxification and nutrition, but the hidden truth lies in the resonance it creates when it enters your system. It's as though each particle contains a tiny, harmonious pattern that reminds your body of what perfect alignment feels like, prompting it to recalibrate. The cleansing effect goes beyond the physical. On an energetic level, bee pollen has long been associated with restoring balance, not just in bodily systems, but in one's state of being. It gently opens the solar plexus, the center of personal power, helping you to feel more centered in your decisions, more assured in your interactions, and more radiant in your very presence. This isn't a superficial confidence. It's the quiet certainty that comes from feeling in tune with yourself and the life force flowing through you. When integrated with intention, bee pollen becomes more than a nutrient source. It's a subtle teacher of coherence. It brings the body into a state where energy is not scattered, but gathered, where vitality is not restless, but steady. In this way, it supports not only health and endurance, but the ability to sustain focus, creativity, and joy without depletion. This is why in certain esoteric circles, bee pollen was reserved for moments of preparation times when one needed to step forward with clarity, strength, and a luminous presence that others could feel before a single word was spoken. If you're ready for more insights like this, subscribing is the easiest way to make sure you don't miss them. There's a journey hidden here, one that connects the ritual use of ginseng to the radiant energy of bee pollen. Both speak to a deeper understanding of vitality, one where power is not measured by excess, but by harmony, where energy is not burned quickly, but tended like an eternal flame. Together, they hint at a way of living where physical health, spiritual awareness, and personal magnetism are not separate pursuits, but different expressions of the same life, force flowing unobstructed. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the way these natural elements interact within you, each touching a different center of energy, reveals a blueprint for aligning body, mind, and spirit in a way that transforms not only how you feel, but how you move through the world. Write in the comments, "I choose harmony." When bee pollen begins its subtle work within you, the shift often starts in a place that is not entirely physical. By awakening the solar plexus chakra, it taps into the seat of personal power, the place where confidence, determination, and self-assured presence are born. From this center, empowerment doesn't have to be forced. It rises naturally, like the sun breaking over a horizon. It's not about becoming someone else, but about uncovering the version of yourself that already holds this light. In that state, attraction becomes effortless, not because you're seeking it, but because your energy radiates outward with clarity and warmth. Its balancing effect on hormones is equally profound. Many who experience its benefits notice how desire returns not as a restless craving, but as a steady, glowing ember, alive and warm without overwhelming the senses. This is the hidden truth behind its power. Bee pollen doesn't push the body into extremes. It reminds it how to return to its natural rhythm. The energy it offers is calm yet present, allowing you to act from a place of centered intention rather than reaction. This is why the way you consume these foods matters as much as the foods themselves. Intention is the invisible ingredient that turns nourishment into transformation. When you approach these elements without hurry, without distraction, they become more than physical fuel. They become spiritual catalysts. Each moment of consumption becomes an exchange. You offer your attention and gratitude, and in return, the food offers its wisdom, its energy, its quiet influence on both body and mind. In ancient circles, this was the difference between simply eating and truly receiving. The elders knew that the mindset you hold at the moment of ingestion shapes the impact. If taken unconsciously, even the most potent elixir can pass through without leaving much behind. But when taken with awareness, a subtle alchemy occurs. The food doesn't just dissolve into your bloodstream. It begins to rewrite the way you carry your energy, the way you make decisions, the way you interact with life itself. There's a kind of behind-the-scenes transformation that takes place when ritual meets nourishment. Over days and weeks, the shift might show itself in small ways: a steadier mood, a deeper patience, a sense of clarity in situations where you once felt scattered. Over time, those small adjustments compound, shaping a version of you that feels more grounded, more magnetic, more in tune with both yourself and the people around you. And here lies another layer to this journey. When you intentionally combine these natural allies, whether it's the mountain-born strength of maca, the harmonizing fire of ginseng, or the radiant clarity of bee pollen, you're not just nourishing three different parts of your being. You're aligning them, weaving them together into a network of energy that supports your every thought, action, and interaction. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because exploring how intention amplifies the effects of these foods opens a doorway into an entirely different relationship with what you consume, one where every choice you make becomes part of your personal evolution. Write in the comments, my energy has purpose. When desire is understood as something more than a fleeting impulse, it becomes an entirely different force in your life. It stops being a spark that burns out quickly and transforms into a guiding flame, a sacred path that can lead you closer to your own divine nature. In this sense, aphrodisiac foods aren't simply enhancers of the physical body. They are like torches, each one capable of casting light into the hidden chambers of your inner temple. They help you see parts of yourself that may have been dormant, waiting for the right energy to awaken them. Each of these foods, maca, ginseng, and bee pollen, has its own unique signature, its own language within the body. Maca roots you into the earth, steadying you through the root chakra and connecting you to the raw vitality of survival and stability. Ginseng flows into the sacral chakra, the seat of movement, pleasure, and creative energy, transforming raw desire into something refined and intentional. Bee pollen radiates into the solar plexus chakra, the center of personal power, confidence, and the ability to move through the world with purpose. Together, they form a sacred trinity: survival, joy, and power. It's not just about activating each center individually. It's about allowing them to communicate, to flow into one another, creating an energetic circuit that strengthens every part of your being. When these centers are open and in harmony, something extraordinary happens. You no longer move through the world searching for love, validation, or connection. Instead, you become the source of those things. Love begins to find you, magnetized by the frequency you radiate. This magnetism is not the kind that can be faked. It doesn't come from wearing the right clothes, saying the right words, or performing the right gestures. It emerges from an internal state where your energy flows without obstruction, where every part of you is aligned with your deeper truth. This is the hidden truth the ancients understood. The most attractive quality in a human being is coherence, when your physical, emotional, and spiritual selves are moving in the same direction. The impact of living from this state reaches far beyond personal relationships. It influences your mindset, the way you make decisions, and the opportunities that seem to cross your path. People respond differently to you when your presence carries weight, when your words have the quiet confidence that comes from being rooted in yourself. This isn't arrogance. It's the calm assurance of someone who knows who they are and no longer needs to chase what's already flowing toward them. And this is where the journey deepens. Because once you recognize that your own body can become a source of attraction and inspiration, the question shifts from how do I get more to how do I sustain and grow this energy. The foods we've been exploring are powerful allies, but their true potential is only unlocked when they are part of a larger way of living, a way that honors desire as sacred, creativity as necessary, and personal power as something to be shared, not hoarded. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because understanding how to sustain this magnetic state opens the door to a transformation that isn't temporary. It becomes a constant presence in your life, shaping every experience you step into. Write in the comments, I radiate from within. When the act of consumption is elevated into a ritual, the experience changes entirely. You're no longer just eating or drinking. You're entering into an exchange, a conscious conversation between yourself and the energy of what you're receiving. Creating a moment of quiet before you begin allows the mind to settle, the senses to awaken, and your attention to shift fully into the present. Holding the food in your hands, acknowledging where it came from, and feeling genuine gratitude for its journey to you sends a clear signal, not just to your own subconscious, but to the very energy of the food, that you are ready to receive its full benefit. This is where intention becomes a hidden amplifier. The same root, herb, or nectar consumed without thought might nourish the body, but when taken with deliberate focus, it begins to nourish the deeper layers of your being. It's as though the body recognizes the presence of both the food and your awareness. allowing the two to merge into something greater. In this state, the effects move beyond digestion. They ripple into your emotional stability, your creative flow, and even the quality of your connections with others. Awakening vital. Energy in this way inevitably transforms relationships. When you approach life from a place of internal alignment, you start to notice a quiet shift. The people you attract change, the conversations you engage in deepen, and your decisions carry more clarity. Attraction stops being about outward appearance alone and begins to be rooted in resonance, whether the other person's energy harmonizes with your own. This changes everything, because instead of chasing connections, you allow them to emerge, naturally, drawn by the steadiness and authenticity you carry. The same applies to creativity. When your life force is flowing freely, ideas arrive more effortlessly, and inspiration feels less like a fleeting gift and more like a steady current. You no longer wait for the right moment to create. You simply channel what's already moving through you. This is the kind of shift that impacts every area of life, from how you work to how you love, because it comes from the deepest part of who you are. But here's the hidden truth. This process isn't something you can rush. Like a seed buried in the soil, there's an unseen journey happening before anything breaks the surface. It requires patience, trust, and a willingness to keep tending the ground, even when there are no immediate signs of change. The integration of these foods into your energy system is a gradual unfolding, one that builds layer upon layer until it becomes part of your natural state. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. A single ceremonial moment can spark a shift, but it's the steady repetition of conscious practice that creates lasting transformation. Over time, the foods stop feeling like something extra you're adding to your life. They become woven into the rhythm of it, influencing not just your energy, but your mindset, your choices, and the way you navigate the spaces between action and stillness. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding how patience and consistency shape energetic transformation will reveal why the slow path often leads to the most profound and enduring impact. Write in the comments, "I honor the process." When these natural elements are woven into your days with intention, something begins to shift, not in a dramatic explosion of change, but in a steady, almost imperceptible current that builds over time. Daily, conscious use keeps the energy they awaken flowing like a well-tended river. Even the smallest amounts, when taken with true reverence, can carry a potency far beyond their physical measure. It's not the quantity that determines the impact, but the quality of your presence when you receive them. That's where the subtle alchemy lies, in the union of the food's essence and your awareness. This steady flow of energy naturally draws attention to one of the most profound principles shared by spiritual traditions across the world. Sexual energy is not something to be spent recklessly, but to be refined, redirected, and transformed. It's the same current that fuels creativity, deep connection, and personal evolution. When channeled with care, it becomes the force behind inspired action, artistic expression, and even the clarity needed for life-changing decisions. This is the hidden truth that mystics have guarded for centuries, not to suppress desire, but to elevate it so it becomes a bridge between instinct and higher purpose. The transformation that follows is deeply personal, and it demands a certain level of listening. No two bodies respond exactly the same way to these foods, and the key is to observe rather than impose. Pay attention to how you feel, not only in moments of activity, but in the quieter spaces between. Sometimes the most important shifts reveal themselves not in bursts of energy, but in a deeper calm, a clearer mind, or a subtle lift in mood. This kind of self-awareness is the foundation of any true journey of transformation, because it teaches you to recognize the difference between stimulation and genuine vitality. Adjustments are part of the process. Some days, a smaller amount may allow you to feel more balanced. Other days, your body may call for a little more support. This isn't about rigid rules. It's about cultivating a responsive relationship with yourself, one where you honor your own rhythms instead of forcing them to match an external standard. When you learn to listen like this, you step into a state where your choices about food, movement, relationships, and work are guided by alignment rather than habit or impulse. And there's another layer here, one that happens behind the scenes. The more you listen to your body and fine-tune your approach, the more your energy stabilizes, and with it, your mindset shifts. You begin making decisions not from a place of urgency or depletion, but from a place of fullness. The impact of this can be profound. Relationships become more intentional, creative work feels more inspired, and challenges are met with a steadier, more grounded presence. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding how to transform and direct this cultivated energy into every aspect of life reveals the true scope of its power. It's not just about how you feel in the moment, but about the kind of person you become over the entire journey. Write in the comments, I direct my energy with purpose. When the act of consuming these natural allies is rooted in self-love, something shifts on a level that goes far beyond the physical. You're no longer taking them as a way to fill a void or mask an insecurity. You're honoring yourself, affirming that your body and spirit deserve the highest quality of nourishment. This shift in mindset is subtle yet profound. Intention becomes the multiplier, amplifying not only the effects of the food itself, but also the way your body receives and integrates it. The energy you cultivate this way feels different. It's steadier, cleaner, and deeply connected to your sense of self-worth. That's why the most transformative results often come when these foods are paired with practices that move and channel energy intentionally. Breath work, for example, acts like a bridge between the physical and the energetic, distributing vitality evenly throughout the body and clearing stagnant pathways. Dance frees that same energy, allowing it to flow with joy and spontaneity, reconnecting you to the natural rhythm of your own movement. Meditation grounds it, offering stillness and direction, so that what you've awakened does not disperse, but gathers strength within you. Each practice supports the others, creating a cycle where energy is generated, circulated, and stored with purpose. This awareness leads naturally to one of the most important aspects of the journey, guarding your vital fire. Energy is precious, and once it is cultivated, it must be shared with discernment. In the realm of intimacy, this becomes even more significant. Conscious eroticism is not about mere physical contact. It's about the meeting of energies, an exchange that can elevate or deplete depending on the intention and presence of those involved. When you begin to see your own energy as sacred, your choices about where and with whom you share it become more intentional. This is not about restriction or fear. It's about honoring the fact that your energy is your gold, and giving it away carelessly diminishes its radiance. The hidden truth is that when you share your fire selectively, it not only preserves your vitality, but also heightens its impact when you choose to give it. The people who experience your energy in this way feel its depth, its steadiness, and the sincerity behind it. It becomes something rare and therefore profoundly valued. Behind the scenes, this practice of discernment begins to reshape your mindset. You stop seeking approval or validation through connection and start choosing connections that match and elevate your own frequency. This creates a cycle of mutual nourishment where both parties leave the exchange more energized, inspired, and aligned. And the effect doesn't stop at relationships. This guarded, refined energy seeps into your work, your creativity, and your decision-making, influencing every area of your life with clarity and strength. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding the balance between cultivation and sharing is the key to sustaining your transformation, ensuring that your inner fire not only remains lit, but continues to grow brighter over time. Write in the comments, my energy is sacred. When you begin to see natural aphrodisiacs as more than nutrients, their role in your life takes on an entirely new dimension. They are not just substances that act on the body, they are sacred codes, carrying information that speaks directly to both your physical and subtle systems. Every root, petal, or golden grain has a language, a pattern that your body instinctively understands. It's as if nature left these messages scattered across the earth, waiting for us to recognize them, take them in, and remember something ancient about ourselves. These codes work quietly but profoundly. On the surface, they may influence hormones, energy levels, or mood, but beneath that, they are re-establishing a connection that many have forgotten, the bond between human life and the greater intelligence of the natural world. They don't just fuel the body, they realign it, helping you remember that you are not separate from the rhythms of the earth. And in that remembrance, desire begins to transform. It shifts from being a force that pulls you outward, constantly searching, into one that rises from within, rooted in balance and guided by purpose. Honoring the body as a sacred garden is a mindset that changes how you relate to this desire. You no longer see it as something to control or indulge in isolation, but as a fertile source of creative expansion. Every thought, every choice, every action becomes a seed you plant in this inner space. When you tend it with care through the foods you consume, the movements you make, and the emotions you nurture, what grows is not just vitality, but a life that feels aligned, meaningful, and alive with possibility. This is the hidden truth of the sacred fire. It's not about an endless, chaotic flame that burns indiscriminately, nor is it about extinguishing the heat altogether. It's about cultivating a fire that illuminates without destroying, that warms without consuming, that inspires without exhausting. This is a fire that can be carried with you through every season of life, adapting, deepening, and strengthening as you do. The impact of living in this way reaches far beyond personal pleasure or health. It alters your presence in the world. You become a person whose energy speaks before your voice does, whose alignment can be felt without explanation. Others sense it in your steadiness, in the way you look at them, in the way you move through space. It is a form of silent influence, the kind that draws people not because of what you promise, but because of what you embody. And this embodiment is the real journey one that doesn't end with consuming a particular food or mastering a specific practice. It's a path of ongoing dialogue between you and your body, between you and the earth, between you and the unseen forces that shape your experiences. As you walk it, you learn that the most profound transformations happen quietly in the choices you make daily, in the way you direct your attention, and in the way you honor the energy you've been given. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because exploring how this sacred fire integrates into every layer of your life reveals not only the depth of its power, but also the subtle ways it shapes your destiny. Write in the comments, "I tend my sacred fire." If you've stayed with me until this point, then you already know this wasn't just a conversation about food. It was about energy, connection, and the way we choose to live in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. If you want to keep walking this path with me, subscribe so you don't miss the next time we explore something that can truly shift the way you see and feel life. Let me know you made it all the way here by writing in the comments. I'm with you until the end. I'd love to see who's carrying this same spark forward. And if what we've shared resonated with you, give this video a like. It's a simple way to acknowledge the connection we've built here. There's a video right here that complements everything we've just explored. Click and continue with me over there.